What I do want to hear from is I want to hear your early thoughts on Super Bowl 60. Who you think is going to win? I'm looking forward to hearing that as we go here today on 580 Sports Talk. Again, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube, WIBW News on Facebook. I understand we had a bit of an audio issue. That has been resolved, so we're good to go. You can hear us on the YouTube now, and you can hear us on the Facebook now at WIBW News. And I am excited to be with you on this Monday. One quick programming note before we continue on the show today. You will be able to hear the championship game of the 65th Topeka Invitational Tournament right here tonight on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Tip-off is scheduled for 7 o'clock at the Pressure Cooker at Highland Park. It's an all-city affair for the 20th time in the tournament's 65-year history. Topeka West and Topeka High vying for the TIT title. I'll have the call. Pregame coverage approximately 6:45. Again, right here tonight on 580 WIBW. All right, let's get started. Championship Sunday is in the books. It's the Patriots and the Seahawks. Holy crap. It's the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. You got to be kidding me. I lied. I said I wasn't going to make it personal. I do my best not to make it entirely personal, but I have to start with this being a little personal. We've been friends long enough. I've been doing this radio show off and on since 2016. And since I returned to WIBW in 2022, the fall of 2022, it's been a pretty good run for my favorite teams. The Colorado Avalanche won the Stanley Cup. In 22, the Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship, their first one ever in 2023. And now the Seattle Seahawks are one win away from a Super Bowl. That rocks. That's fun. I got to tell you, I'm enjoying my late 30s as a sports fan. This is really cool. And what's cool about this one for me is just how unexpected this whole thing was. Longtime listeners of the program, or not even longtime, listeners of this program since I don't know, last spring, may be aware that I came into the 2025 NFL season not exactly sold on the idea that you could have Sam Darnold as your quarterback and do anything worthwhile. Let's put it as gently as possible. Was not a Sam Darnold believer. And as such, my anticipation was that the Seahawks ultimately would not make the playoffs, like they had not made the playoffs the season before. I did not pick them to make the playoffs when we did our preseason projections. I did pick the Patriots to go to the playoffs. I didn't pick them to go to the damn Super Bowl, but I did pick them to go to the playoffs. That's one of my, that might be my only good prediction of the year as it ended up turning out. But my expectation for the Seahawks, for my favorite team, they were pretty low. They were pretty low because I was not a Sam Darnold believer. And then Sam Darnold came out of the gate balling out of control, and I didn't believe in it because why would I? Small sample size. Do you trust the small sample or do you trust the big sample? I trust the big sample. The big sample of Sam Darnold included the I'm seeing ghosts game. The big sample of Sam Darnold included him falling on his face in Carolina. The big Sam Darnold sample had him winning a bunch of games in Minnesota the season previous, but blowing it when it mattered the most, playing his worst football underneath the harshest spotlights. Why would I have expected anything different? And then after he threw 4 interceptions in a 2-point loss to the Rams in the regular season, that confirmed my priors. I was right about Sam Darnold all along. Wasn't made for the big game. This was one the Seahawks had to have to stay in the NFC West race, and they didn't win it, and they only didn't win it because that bum, Sam Darnold, threw 4 interceptions. I was right all along. And then they didn't lose again. they did, and not only did they not lose again, they were winning games in which it was not entirely important that Sam Darnold play well or not. He didn't play great in the overtime win over the Rams, though he was excellent on the game-winning drive and game-tying drive in the fourth quarter of that game. He did not play particularly exceptionally in the season-ending win over the 49ers that delivered the Seahawks the division title and the number 1 seed. And he was a passenger in the divisional round win over the 49ers because that was all he had to be. And even as recently as Friday, had we had a show, which we did not, even as recently as Friday, I would have told you, yeah, That level of Sam Darnold participation, that's probably what the Seahawks are going to need. If they need Sam Darnold to go nuts, if they need Sam Darnold to outplay the other team's quarterback in a high-scoring game, just don't think that's going to go well. I'd seen the movies. I trusted the big sample. I didn't believe. And then Sam Darnold went and outplayed Matthew Stafford in the NFC Championship game. And it was not because Stafford did not play well. Stafford was unbelievable. That Seahawks defensive performance by EPA per play is the worst of any conference championship game winner in 52 years. The worst. And that's the number one defense in football that could not stop the Rams offense because Sam Darnold was out of his mind, throwing passes into slivers of windows to find receivers down the field for big gain after big gain after big gain. And the Seahawks, well, they couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't stop the run, and they couldn't do anything with Stafford. They had to outscore the Rams, which meant Sam Darnold had to make it happen. And my God, did he. 300-plus yards, 3 touchdowns, critically, no turnovers. I'm a big believer that you can divide quarterbacks between guys you can win with and guys you win because of. And there aren't a lot of guys in this league that you win because of. It's a really small list. It's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Lamar, it's the one-name guys, basically. Not a ton of guys you win because of. Sam Darnold this year, I would have conceded, had evolved into a guy that you could win with. The scoreboard doesn't lie. The standings don't lie. Back-to-back division championships, back-to-back playoff appearances, 2 different teams. If you could do that in 2 different settings with Sam Darnold, then clearly he was becoming, at the very minimum, a guy you could win with. Last night, he played like the guy you win because of. And that is why the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. Not their number 1 rated defense, though that is a big part of how they got there. Not their vaunted running game. They really missed Zach Charbonnet last night. They got there because Sam Darnold balled out of control. Got any alt-rock fans out there? Anybody familiar with the band Arctic Monkeys? Their first album came out about 20 years ago. 20 years ago this month, I think. And their first album, the Arctic Monkeys, their first big album that made them stars, the title of that album is Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. That was Sam Darnold yesterday. Whatever people have said about him, that he couldn't handle pressure, that he couldn't handle the big moment, that he was too turnover prone, that when the pressure was on, he would panic. That's what he wasn't yesterday. Played like a franchise quarterback in the biggest game of his life. And all I can do is say, oops, wrong. And look, being wrong, 48 to 52% of this job. I'm wrong a lot. You listen to this show often enough, you will hear it. I am wrong a lot. 48 to 52% of the time, right? I don't know that I've been more wrong about a player than I was about Sam Darnold. He is a different guy. He is trusted. He is beloved by his teammates. He is trusted by his coaches, by his receivers, by his offense. And in the biggest game of his life, he not only went toe-to-toe with a borderline Hall of Famer in Matthew Stafford, he was better. He was better, and his team is going to the Super Bowl. The Seahawks. The Seahawks. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. I can barely comprehend it. But it's true. The scoreboard doesn't lie. The stat sheet doesn't lie. He was incredible last night. It would be one thing if we were sitting here and Darnold had a game where he threw for like 200, couple touchdowns and a pick, but the defense had held up their end of the bargain, flipped the field a couple of times. Seattle had scored on some short fields. There was definitely a route to victory in that game that did not include Sam Darnold going nuts, Sam Darnold disproving every narrative about him. There was a path to winning. The Rams just shut it down. They took away Seattle's running game outside of the first quarter. They shredded Seattle's vaunted defense. Seattle's pass rush, a complete no-show. Absolute non-factor. That meant Sam Darnold had to be great, and Sam Darnold was great. And now he's a conference champion, and he's going to the Super Bowl. And we are 60 minutes of football in which he will enter as the favorite from never being able to say a negative thing about that man again. And you know who's really looking forward to that? This guy right here, who spent the entire last 6 months saying negative things about Sam Darnold. I was wrong. So that was that game. Obviously, that was the better game of the night. Denver, New England, there's not a lot to say about that game. The fourth quarter was played in an ice rink. Like, I don't know what you really want to hear about that game. It was gross. It probably looked really visually appealing on television. I can tell you who it wasn't appealing for. People at the game. And a buddy of mine who was at the game, I texted him afterwards. He said, yeah, there were plays, couldn't see what was happening. You couldn't see the ball. You couldn't look down. And like, he wasn't like front row center. He was up in the fifth level, but there were plays you could not see the action on the field. Apparently on the Broncos radio network, there were moments where play-by-play man Dave Logan couldn't pinpoint the ball, couldn't pinpoint the spot of the ball or who had the ball. It was a gross football game, as those bad weather games tend to be. And I love when people complain about, it's too bad that a conference championship was in part decided because of nasty weather. Like, it ain't part of the game. If you don't want to be part of the game, go build a dome. And a lot of teams have, and more will. The Chiefs are going to. The Broncos are going to. In 6 years, they won't have this problem. When the Walmart people get their big stadium built about 2 miles south of the current one with a roof on it, so they can get one Super Bowl ever. But as long as it's played outdoors, they played football outdoors since leather helmets. Since the helmets were squishy, they've been playing outdoor football. The elements are part of it. Got to survive. Got to make a play. Got to know where to line your field goal unit up so you get your kick up over the block, which if you missed that, apparently that's what happened on the field goal for the Broncos that was blocked with 5 minutes to play. Apparently, Will Lutz and his holder didn't pace off enough space, enough yardage behind the center. So the kick came out with a lower trajectory, and it got blocked. And instead of a tied game, though there's no guarantee that kick would have been on target anyway from 46 yards in a blizzard, instead of a tie game, it remained 10-7, and that's where it ended. The Patriots move on. They go to the Super Bowl. Drake May has been, let's call it what it is, unconvincing in his 3 playoff wins. He has not played well in any of them, though at least he has, well, really the last 2 weeks, a bit of a weather excuse. The weather wasn't nearly as much of a hindrance 2 weeks ago against the Texans as it was against the Broncos, but he got the weather excuse for a couple of weeks, and he did make the biggest play of the game, audibling on the fly to a naked bootleg run that none of his teammates knew he was going to do, to run for the yardage on third down to get the game-sealing first down. That takes guts. That takes a level of confidence and ability that is rare in a 23-year-old quarterback. He played like an MVP through the regular season. There's absolutely a chance he does it again in Super Bowl 60. But everything we've seen from the Patriots for the last 3 weeks has not exactly convinced that they are a juggernaut, just like their regular season body of work did not exactly convince that they were a juggernaut. But maybe that makes them the perfect AFC champion this year, because it was one of the most topsy-turvy years in the conference that anybody can recall, with the 3-time defending conference champs laid low with injuries and ineptitude in close games, and ultimately the loss of Patrick Mahomes, with the Ravens and their star quarterback missing the playoffs, with the Bills and their star quarterback knocked out early in the playoffs. Maybe it's fitting that it is the Patriots, a team we spent most of the season dismissing out of hand, that ends up winning the AFC and representing the AFC in this topsy-turvy year. And they're underdogs, 4.5 points, I believe, last I looked. But maybe they're the appropriate AFC champions for 2025. We'll take a break. Come back, get your reaction from the text line, from the live chat on YouTube. We'll talk to Matt Verderame here in about 10 minutes. A lot more NFL to get to. We'll talk Sunflower Showdown in the 4 o'clock hour. We're glad you're here on this Monday on 580 Sports Talk. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. Matt Verderame joins the show in just a couple of minutes to continue to break down Championship Sunday in the NFL. Looking for your text, 785-272-9429, and your reactions on the YouTube live chat to what we've been talking about so far. Tyler in the chat says it was a Cooper Kupp revenge game last night. Playoff Cooper Kupp, apparently a real thing. He scored a touchdown last night. All year long, you read stuff coming out of Seattle about what a great teammate Cooper Kupp is, how great he is with young players, young receivers. And my thought has always been, cool, you gave a guy $10 million to be a glorified wide receivers coach? He doesn't catch the football in games? What's that about? He's been awesome in the playoffs. Another guy who shut me up in rather dramatic fashion. Also, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Both Andrew and Jason in the live chat say Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer. What are we talking about? Really? Are you that certain? Really? He put up empty stats for years for Detroit teams that never did anything. He gets to L.A., a loaded roster with the best defensive player of his era, and wins a Super Bowl and doesn't make it back to another one. And we might have just seen the last of Matthew Stafford. We might have. Like, if his career ends, if that was it for Matthew Stafford, you got one Super Bowl appearance. You've got one championship. He might win the MVP. I think it's going to go Drake May, but he might win the MVP this year. How many times was he All-Pro? Did you think he was a Hall of Famer before he won his ring? Because if a ring makes you a Hall of Famer, we got to make room for a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. I feel about Matthew Stafford like I feel about Phillip Rivers. Yes, there are a lot of guys who put up really, really, really impressive numbers, and at least Stafford has the ring that eluded Rivers. Stafford's got a better case than Rivers for that reason. But it can't just be stats. It can't just be, well, we look at the numbers for this era where passing has become so prevalent. I don't see it with Matthew Stafford. Did we ever at any point think he was the best quarterback in the league? Did we ever at any point sit down and say, yeah, that guy is the best in the game? Or in the top five? I don't believe that was ever the consensus about Matthew Stafford. So, no, he's not a Hall of Famer to me. It's close. Like, I understand there's a case. He wins the MVP, comes back, has another great year next year. Maybe he continues to bolster his case further. For me, not a Hall of Famer. Not a Hall of Famer. Andrew also points out the muffed punt in the Seahawks game. That was a massive turning point, and it's I'll say this. Special teams were Chekhov's gun for the Rams all season long. It was a problem from week one all the way to the conference championship game. And every game they lost, there was some sort of massive special teams mistake. And the muff punt gave Seattle a chance to take a 2-score lead early in the third quarter, and the Rams never led after that. But that was a massive moment in the game, and it just goes to show how important special teams can be, because the Rams had all the pieces. Man for man, offense and defense. You want to argue they had more talent than the Seahawks? I'd listen. I would listen to that argument. Special teams matters a lot. It's a 3-phase game. Got to play complementary football. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, will join us. We'll have plenty to chew on with Matt from Championship Weekend. Still looking for your thoughts in the live chat on YouTube and on the text line 785-272-9429. Matt Verderame joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated and SI.com. Also appears on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network and his own subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show. You can catch Matt at this time every Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, Patriots and Seahawks in Super Bowl 60. This has to be the most unexpected Super Bowl pairing, certainly by the Vegas numbers it is, but probably in the history of the NFL.
It's up there. You know, I love the history of the sport, and I was thinking about that over the weekend, just, you know, how unlikely, how improbable this was if you went back and you did this, you know, the opening night of the season in September. It's right there. I mean, in 81, the Bengals and Niners got there. Neither team was any good the year prior. I think that was probably the close. I mean, this is, look, people thought New England would be better. I picked them to be a wild card team. I don't think anybody thought they'd be in the Super Bowl. And Seattle, you know, people forget now, but I mean, Seattle is a team that, you know, look, Darnold was coming in. Geno Smith had been traded. Metcalf was traded. I mean, there were a lot of people who thought Seattle was in for a tough year. So it has been a very weird year in the NFL, and I guess this is a fitting way to conclude it.
We'll start with the better game from yesterday, which was Seahawks 31, Rams 27, and Sam Darnold defying the doubters, as everybody who spoke about him or about the game in the postgame said. What to you was most impressive about Darnold's performance in outdueling Matthew Stafford and putting up the numbers he did in an NFC Championship game victory?
That it wasn't just that he didn't make a mistake. He made plays. I think, you know, myself included, all year it's been, hey, look, don't lose the game. Don't go out there and make a killer pick or a really costly sack. And he avoided those things, but he also made big plays. I mean, he made some big third down conversions. He made some big throws down the field, the one early to Shaheed. Those are the things that separate a decent quarterback, a solid quarterback, from a really good quarterback who's an asset. How about Darnold on Sunday in a game that required him to do it? Because the Rams were moving the ball. They were scoring points of their own. He was able to not only just play decently and play, you know, without making the big error. He rose above that and played in a way where he was actively helping them win the game. And so, look, if Darnold plays like that in 2 weeks, Seattle's going to mop the floor with New England. New England needs him to have a game where he's just a net negative. If he doesn't have a game like that, New England has no shot.
You mentioned the Rams, the way they were able to move the ball on the Seattle defense. Was that just about Stafford and his talented fleet of receivers, or was it schematic more so? What did you think was the key to the Rams having been able to move the ball on a Seattle defense that had looked just about impenetrable down the stretch?
I think it's a combination, but Stafford was great yesterday. I mean, really, you know, I thought his medal shined through when, you know, they muffed the punt coming out of the halftime. And then I thought, hey, this might be where the Rams get their back broken. I mean, it's 24-13. The place is going nuts. Stafford made 2 or 3 throws in that ensuing drive. It's unbelievable. I mean, just perfect balls to Adams and Nakua. They get down there, they score. I thought Stafford played brilliantly. And look, McVay's a great schemer, and they were coming up with different ways to get guys open. But really, it was the fact that, you know, Nakua's a top 3 receiver in the league. Adams is a first-ballot Hall of Famer. Stafford's going to end up in Canton one day. And you saw why in that game. Now, you know, to Seattle's credit, it wasn't enough, and they held up at the end, the goal line in the last 5 minutes. But, yeah, listen, I mean, for me, again, not to disrespect New England, that was the Super Bowl to me. Those 2 teams are the best 2 teams in the league. And they play like it. And Seattle was able to make a couple more plays now. So, listen, that game's not even that close if Rick Woolen doesn't lose his mind at a certain juncture. But he ends up not being the GOAT because they were able to survive it.
Matt Verderame is our guest, our NFL insider here on 580 Sports Talk, covers the league for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. All right, you brought it up, and I saw it in the YouTube live chat earlier, and I was debating that with a couple of our listeners here earlier this hour. You think Stafford's a Hall of Famer? I'm a little less sold. Like, I think if he ended up there, it would not make Canton appreciably worse, but I'm less sold on his Hall of Fame, like, certitude. Where do you fall on Stafford as a Hall of Famer? Is he easy lead pipe cinch guy, or do you think that he maybe has to wait a couple of years?
If they'd won the Super Bowl this year, I think he was a lock. Look, for me, I'm a tough grader. Okay, and I'd love to have a vote one day. It's hard to get. I don't have one currently. We'll see how it plays out. But if I have a vote when he's eligible, I'd have to really think about it. On one hand, look, assuming he wins the MVP this year, which he should, that's a major accomplishment. He's a Super Bowl champion. He was great the year they won the Super Bowl. There's a part of you that wonders what would he have been if the team around him wasn't a grease fire most of his career in Detroit. I think in the end, I think he will get in. I don't think it's a slam dunk. I've seen people talk about, Phillip Rivers, he'll just walk in the Hall of Fame. Why? What is his big accomplishment? What is it? If I asked you, what is the moment that you point to as Phillip Rivers' career-defining moment? What is it? The game that he lost on a torn ACL? Stafford can point to that Super Bowl. He can point to that game-winning drive. I think he gets in, but I don't think he's a first ballot guy. I think he's a guy that it'll take a handful of years, but I do think he'll eventually get it.
Back to the guy who beat him yesterday and has one more game to play, Sam Darnold. Obviously, the preference is always going to be for teams to find a franchise quarterback. It's why teams that pick number one always take a quarterback. It's why the quarterbacks make the big bucks. Do you think there might be some teams that look at their rosters and how they're constructed and say, we might be better off seeing if there's another Sam Darnold out there, somebody who maybe was in a bad situation as a high draft pick that maybe with a second chance could deliver on their earlier promise? Do you think there even are more guys out there who could be the next Sam Darnold, so to speak, a guy who in a better structure outside of a bad dumpster fire of an organization or a situation might be able to be a late career resurrection type of piece like Darnold has been for the Seahawks?
Yeah, look, I think, if you have an opportunity to draft a guy high, you're going to always do that because of a variety of reasons. Number one, you're getting the guy for a longer period of time. Number two, he's in your system. He comes up through your system only. Number three, you have a cheap contract for 5 years. So that is always going to be the preferable option. At the same point, a lot of teams don't have that option. A lot of teams aren't going to draft the way the Raiders are drafting this year, right? I mean, most teams don't suck that badly. Let's be real about it. So, a lot of these teams, they need quarterbacks. Take the Steelers as an example. They're not picking Mendoza number one overall. They're not going to be able to do it. And you look at a team like Kansas City. They took Mahomes 10th. They trade a lot to get there. That. If you're wrong, everybody's fired, and a lot of teams aren't willing to take that risk that comes with that opportunity. I look around the league right now to your question about Darnold. Is there another guy out there? Well, nobody thought Darnold was Darnold, right? I mean,
right.
Hell, if Minnesota was that convinced, J.J. McCarthy would be wearing somebody else's uniform, right? And he's not. Now, maybe he should be, probably should be, but he's not. I look at a guy like Kyler Murray, a guy like Tua. Now, I think everybody listening to this is going, oh, come on, that guy's not the next Darnold. I would agree. Again, you didn't think Darnold was going to be Darnold, right? Murray on a team that has a great infrastructure. Let's say Stafford retired today. If the Rams brought in Kyler Murray, what would that look like? If a team that had a really good infrastructure brought in a guy like that, what would that look like? I think that, Tua, it's a little different. He was with Mike McDaniel. He had the receivers. I think we kind of know what Tua is. The Cardinals have always been this bizarre mismatch of players around Murray. He would be a guy I could see a team that doesn't have a quarterback saying, you know what? Let's go trade a pick for that guy and see what happens. And look, you might go bust. It might not work out. Or you might have a guy that you'll walk away and go, hey, you know what? Okay, he's not Mahomes or Allen, but he's a legitimate top 12 quarterback in the league. And if you can find that guy, you at least have a chance, as Seattle's shown this year.
Our guest is Matt Verderame, joining us on the Flaming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com. All right, I put off talking about it long enough, but there was another game yesterday that was barely football in the second half due to the weather conditions. The Patriots defeat the Broncos 10-7. All my buddies back in Denver think Bo Nix would have been the difference in that game. Are they right?
I don't know, but I got to tell you, that game was barely a football game in the first half. So, I mean, that game, we all are entitled to compensation after watching the first half of that thing. Look, I don't know if it would have been a difference or not. They get crushed by Seattle 2 in 2 weeks. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. I think, does Knicks give them a better shot than Jared Stidham? Yeah. Stidham had one drive and it was absolutely awful. But I got to tell you, everybody's going to look at that game and go, if they had Knicks, and I get it. Fair enough. Sean Payton crushed them in that game with that decision he made up 7-0 with a 4th and 1 14-yard line. I'm sorry. I know we live in an age where everybody goes for it on every down. I'm 37 years old. I should be the guy who's sitting here screaming that you go for it on every 4th down. That was a ludicrous decision in real time. You were up 7-0. New England is 12 yards on 12 plays at that point in the game. You have Jared Stidham at quarterback and a chip shot field goal staring you in the face, go up 2 scores, and you decided to throw on 4th and 1. Behind an offensive line that was giving up pressure the entire game, which is odd because Denver does a good line, but they were struggling. You don't score. You then have a Stidham fumble. They score off of that, and that's it. Denver never had another drive the rest of that game where they had 20 yards of offense. Never. The entire rest of the afternoon. And you just up and decided in that moment, we don't need the points. We're good. I don't understand what the thought process was. Look, Stidham did what he could do. He's a backup. He's not a guy you expect to do much. He didn't do much. They were going to have to win that game with the defense. To the defense's credit, I thought they gave you everything they could give you. The offense just couldn't function, snow or no snow. But in the end, look, Denver, tough way to go out. But, Denver's lived a charmed life all year. They're 12 comeback wins out of 14 games. Look, the hard thing for Denver is, do they ever get back to this spot with this game? Because it kind of feels like one of those teams that this was their, big shot. Everything kind of broke their way. They're going to have to do a lot of improving this offseason, probably just to get back to that opportunity.
You picked the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl before the postseason started. And you look at their run to the AFC Championship game. They had to win 3. They beat the Chargers at home. They beat the Texans at home. And then they go on the road and they beat Denver. Drake May has not played well, though certainly the elements have had a little bit of something to do with that. The Patriots defense has played really well, but again, weather conditions and playing against some offensive lines that aren't particularly good. What's your view of how they got there? Are you glass half full or glass half empty with what the Patriots have put on the field the last 3 weeks?
This is going to sound really disrespectful, and I don't mean it to. I'm just trying to be honest. I think the Patriots are the best of the bad situation in the AFC. I just think they're good. They're a good team. They're a team that in most years, let's take the AFC over the last 10 years. They're a team that would have made the playoffs and gotten blasted by Kansas City or other New England teams in the divisional round. They would have been Jacksonville in 2022 who went to Kansas City and got beaten, in the divisionals. They would have been, the Steelers or the Texans of previous years who would have maybe won a playoff game and then that would have been it. But there was nobody to extinguish them because the Bills decided to turn the ball over 37 times up in Denver. And everybody else, the Chargers have no offensive line, and Herbert in the playoffs turns into me at quarterback. And then they have, Nico Collins is out for Houston, and Stroud also looks like me at quarterback. And then Denver just didn't have a quarterback, and it was just, a snow globe in the second half of the game. None of that cheapens what New England did. New England deserves to be where they are. They were the best team in the AFC this year. But I was thinking about, how far back do you have to go to find a team that you would pick to lose to them in the Super Bowl, that they got to the Super Bowl in past years? I started thinking about that. Maybe it's the 06 Bears, the 03 Panthers, the 2000 Giants. It's a ways. I can't think of many other teams. The Pats are a team that normal years I feel like is a 1 playoff win type of team, but they hit the right year.
All right, last one for Matt Verderame, our NFL insider here in 580 Sports Talk. Some non-game news from the weekend. Mike McCarthy is going to be the new head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's the best case scenario for how that works out for them?
That they are what they've been. I mean, I don't look. I'm not one that is a non-McCarthy guy. Like, McCarthy's won a lot of games. The problem with Mike McCarthy is that when he was in Green Bay, the knock on him annually was they should have gone further than they did. They had Aaron Rodgers in the prime of his career, they had all this talent around them, and they won one Super Bowl, and they got to one Super Bowl, and they never did anything otherwise. They very rarely did anything in the postseason. And then in Dallas, look, they were another team, tons of talent, and yeah, you won 12 games 3 years in a row. Great, you never got to an NFC title game. Like, that's kind of been the knock on him. And now he's 62, and I feel like part of the reason the Steelers hired him is this whole narrative, like, oh, he's a Pittsburgh native. Great, I don't care. Like, can he coach? Can he win games? The problem with McCarthy is not even McCarthy himself. That team needs to rebuild in the absolute worst way, and they just refuse to do it. And so, like, if Rodgers comes back, great. What are they going to go 9-8? Like, I just think until they commit to a rebuild, they're spinning their wheels no matter who the coach is.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated and SI.com and appears with us on 580 Sports Talk every Monday at this time. Subscribe to his Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show, as well. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do more in-depth Super Bowl preview stuff next week.
Sounds good. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a timeout, come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was next on 580 Sports Talk. All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly from the weekend that was. Hopefully good for you all that you were able to stay inside and be warm and not have to go out and what in our neck of the woods here in the capital city was 6 inches of snow. Might have been more for you, might have been less, depending on where you live. But hopefully you rode it out safely and warmly. Hopefully that was good. My good for the weekend, the freaking Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl, man. Can you believe that? Isn't that something? That's what I just keep saying it all day. Man, how about that? The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl. I can't believe it. I'm really, really happy. That's my good, obviously, from the weekend. My bad, had it been the Rams going to the Super Bowl, you would have been able to point to a taunting penalty on Seahawks defensive back Tariq Woolen that negated a third down stop and opened the door for the Rams to get within 31-27 the very next play. And my bad is not that Tariq Woolen couldn't shut up and wouldn't listen to his teammates and couldn't stop woofing at the Rams bench and drew the penalty. My bad is that you throw that flag in the first place. Number one, taunting should be legal. They're adults. Number two, nobody's going to swing on Tariq Woolen. He was just talking. That's all he was doing. Words. Words should not be a penalty. I'm sorry. Words should not be a penalty in an adult sporting event. If you throw that flag, especially when you know it's a free first down, that is look at me officiating. That's like, you're not a ref at that point. You're a cop. Like, nobody wants you to throw that flag. That flag doesn't make the game better. Luckily, it's water under the bridge. And my ugly Jarrett Stidham's turnover that led to the only touchdown of the game for the New England Patriots. Between that and that fourth down decision that Matt Verderame just ripped him for, it was proof that Sean Payton had a little too much faith in Jarrett Stidham, or Stiddy, as they were calling him, which really comes down to Sean Payton having a little too much faith, as always, in Sean Payton. And that's why the Broncos are going home. 4 o'clock hour, we pivot to some college hoops. Going to talk about that Sunflower Showdown beatdown for KU, plus what is wrong with you, and more conference championship talk on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Monday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock tonight. Glad you're here with us on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Great to be with you on this Monday. With you until 6 o'clock, 6:45 tonight. Hope you'll join me for pregame coverage of the championship game of the 65th Topeka Invitational Tournament. Got a little bonus 580 Preps coverage for you tonight. Championship Saturday moved to Monday in the 65th TIT. So we'll have the title game for you tonight. Scheduled tip-off time 7 o'clock. And for the 20th time in the 65-year history of the tournament, it is an all-city affair. Topeka High and Topeka West for bragging rights in the Topeka Invitational Tournament. I'll have the call, again, 6:45-ish pregame coverage. Scheduled start time, 7 o'clock, right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
Did I see that it's only the second time in the last 22 tournaments that it's been an all Topeka?
It's second year in a row. Yeah, it's not been a very recent phenomenon.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't have the whole list of in front of me, but yeah, in recent years.
I think I saw it from our friend Liam Keating.
I think that I would trust Liam.
I do too.
He's got the same. He's looking at the same program that I am. So I'm sure if that's what he said, he was probably looking at it, and I'm not right now. I just know that. I counted 20 all-city finals. Only one other time ever in the history of the tournament it's been High versus West. 87-88, I believe. And Topeka High won it that year. So we'll see how tonight's goes. Looking forward to calling that action for you here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. We'll have a tape-delayed edition of the Jeff Mitty Show to follow right after that here on 580 WIBW.
Probably not a happy Jeff Mitty.
No, I don't imagine so. No, we've got a different Sunflower Showdown route to talk about, but there was certainly one on the women's side yesterday as well. KU all over K-State in that one. Still to come on the show. Lots more to get to from Conference Championship Sunday. The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, Spencer. Can you believe it?
I picked them in our pool. So
you did. You did pick them in our pool. You picked them with the first pick. So you believed in them when the playoffs started, but none of us, not you, not me, not Brendan, picked the Seahawks to go to the playoffs for the season. Not one of us.
I mean, as the Seahawks fan, I'm surprised you didn't, but
you heard all the stuff I said about Sam Darnold for the last 4 months.
All of a sudden, the offense decided to come alive, and Sam Darnold decided to come alive.
I don't think it was
yesterday.
Deciding to. It was they had to. It was the riding the defense in the running game was not going to be a formula with Matthew Stafford playing the way he was. But yeah, Sam Darnold did the damn thing, man. It was awesome. I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for me. I'm really happy for me today. It's a good day to be me. Anyhow, we got more to say on championship weekend, including it's not a coincidence. The last 4 teams standing, the last 2 teams standing, the teams that are usually the last standing, they've all got something in common. Some big deal thing that is in common. And you've either got it, you either are it, or you ought to be figuring out what's keeping you from being that thing. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We got headlines still to come in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to hear from Andy Reid, head coach of the Chiefs. He spoke earlier today, long Zoom press conference. We won't play it in its entirety, but we'll play some of the greatest hits as he spoke about Matt Nagy departing the Chiefs organization, Eric Bieniemy coming back to the Chiefs organization. Our pal, our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, asked a really interesting question at the end of the press conference, and we'll really chew on Andy's answer, but we'll play some of the best, the greatest hits, if you will, the best of Andy Reid's press conference from earlier today. We'll get to that in the 5 o'clock hour. I'm going to talk, as we mentioned, about KU's big win in the Sunflower Showdown on Saturday night. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up as well. Want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also get at us if you are watching the show on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, the name of the channel. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. We are well past 900, even with a couple of departures of bot subscribers. Onward and upward to 1,000. Let's see if we can't get to the 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Go subscribe if you have not yet. It doesn't cost you anything but a click. And check us out on YouTube and hop in the live chat. Say hello and interact with us as we are live on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. All right, let's get to the Sunflower Showdown from Saturday night. Kansas 86, Kansas State 62. Did that need to be the final score? No, it did not. Melvin Council did not need to steal the ball from C.J. Jones and get it ahead to Trey White for the dunk with 10 seconds left. That did not need to happen.
What about the Wabash on the court?
Again, need to. I thought Jerome Tang was right. Jerome Tang's answer about this was right at the end of the game. He didn't say it sucked that KU did that. He said it sucked getting beaten so bad on your home floor that the other team can do that. And he understands the immutable truth of sports, that you do what you want when you're popping, as Future once famously said. Or maybe it's only famous to me, but it's the truth. You do what you want when you're popping. You can talk your talk when the scoreboard is in your favor at the end of the game. And look, I would have thought the end of the game was lame if KU had done that to like Baylor or West Virginia or like Arizona State. I would have thought it was whack, and I would have said so. I was like, it's whack. You don't need to do that. This isn't that. This is a rivalry game, and it's becoming a bit of a trend in this rivalry over the years to rub your rival's nose in it if you get an opportunity at the end of the game. And whether you like that or not, whether you feel like that's poor sportsmanship, or whether you feel like, hey, you're up big, you do whatever you want. Go play the full 40 minutes. We signed up for 40. We're going to play it out. I'm not going to tell you how to feel, but that's becoming a trend. You see how it can go south. There was not an appearance last night from Silvio De Sousa's stool, but so Kansas State at least handled it better than they did back in 2020, but it is becoming a bit of a trend in this rivalry. That's because it's a rivalry, and it should mean that much to beat your in-state rival. You should be enjoying it so much that you co-opt their traditions on the court when the buzzer is sounding. It should be that personal.
Did you see the video, the social media video?
Yeah, I did. I saw in the locker room. I don't know. This is a longer discussion. I got a bit of a problem with the glorification of belts to behinds. Like the implication there being like, oh yeah, this is a reference to like child abuse. Like I don't know that I love that. I got problems with that, but look, social media trends are social media trends. Kids are gonna do what kids are gonna do.
You see Bill Self coming in.
Bill Self in mind. Bill Self had no such compunction with it, did he? No. And that's it. Like the broader takeaway from Saturday night was that we all remember watching The Last Dance, right? The 10-part Michael Jordan 96 Bulls documentary.
Yeah.
And every time Michael Jordan was on the camera, he was talking about, and it became one of the memes coming from the documentary. Michael Jordan talking about, well, it became personal for me, or that's when I took it personally. I took that very personally. It became personal to me. That was Kansas on Saturday. It was personal for Kansas. It was personal for guys who have not been on that campus particularly long. Yeah. It was personal for guys who are one-year mercenary guys. The guys we keep hearing from the Kansas State side, oh, our guys don't care. They're only in it for a check. They don't care about Kansas State. But I'm here to tell you, there are guys on the Kansas roster who are getting paid too, and they seem to care about Kansas. Melvin Council in particular seems to be wired to whoever's uniform he got on. That's who he cares about, and it is bleep the other side for Melvin Council. That individual has completely changed the mentality of this Kansas team, and they have gone from a team who the last couple of years, the charge levied at the Kansas State rosters of this year and recent years that, oh, they're mercenaries, they're portal guys, they're NIL guys. All they care about is their NIL. They don't really care about the name on the front of the uniform. You could have rightly said that, I think, about the Jayhawks the last couple of years. Yeah, they had guys, program guys like DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams, but you tell me AJ Storr gave a damn about the Kansas Jayhawks? Rylan Griffin gave a damn about the Kansas Jayhawks? Even Hunter Dickinson wasn't that kind of competitor for whom he took the rivalry personally. Melvin Council's just like that. That is just how he is and who he is. And he has brought that to this Kansas roster. And Trey White is wired like that. And that has been a big addition to this roster as well. And what you ended up with on Saturday, for about 33 minutes, it was a competitive basketball game. Kansas State was hanging in there, despite the fact, and we'll get to the X's and O's of it, despite the fact that it was extremely hard for Kansas State to, 1, score, and 2, stop Kansas from scoring. And some of that is Jimmy's and Joe's, but it was a hard game. It was an uphill battle for K-State, but they were hanging in. They were rebounding well enough to get second chance opportunities. They had gotten a lift off the bench from Kostic in the first half when he knocked down those 4 threes. But for 33 minutes, Kansas State was in the ball game, and then you could watch them over the course of the final 7 minutes let go of the rope. You let go of the rope when you know you're about to lose in tug of war, right? Like you're on the losing side in tug of war, and you just let go rather than get pulled and land on your face. Just let go of the rope. That's what Kansas State has done, and it's not the first time. It's not the first time that they've let go of the rope. They let go of the rope at Arizona. Very similar scenario, a game that, and it wasn't as close. The Arizona game wasn't as close as the Kansas game was. It was like an 11-point game when K-State let go of the rope. But that is that team's personality. They let go of the rope. Kansas does not let go of the rope. They might get beat, but they don't let go of the rope. And that's because you have a guy like Melvin Council. You have guys who are wired like he is. You have that kind of voice. You have that kind of leadership. And that is in stark contrast to Jerome Tang up on the podium after another loss, essentially bemoaning the lack of competitiveness on his roster. I want to get to the transcript here real quick from Tang's postgame. Tom Gilbert includes Jerome Tang's postgame remarks, the director of men's basketball communications at K-State, in the press releases. And here's what Jerome Tang had to say. No excuses. They just played harder than we did at the end. We've got to be more competitive, and those moments got to be more competitive, and we weren't. Bottom line. Jerome Tang has talked for 3 years now, 4 years, his entire tenure at Kansas State. He's talked about dudes. Dudes win basketball games. And he has gone into the portal in search of dudes. And that has not worked as well as it did the first time around when he did find some dudes. We found Keontae Johnson, who was an All-American dude. He's got another All-American dude this year in P.J. Haggerty. But what P.J. Haggerty isn't, wired like Melvin Council. He's not that kind of competitor. And Kansas State doesn't have those kinds of competitors. And that's been obvious, but it was really, really obvious against a Kansas team who went into Bramlage. They lost their 3 straight years. 3 straight years they'd gone to Bramlage as favorites. Maybe they weren't favored in Tang's first year. I don't remember what the spread was on that. But they were certainly favored the last 2 years to go into Bramlage and win, and they didn't. And you would think, okay, back in the old days, you would have a senior on a roster or a group of seniors who were freshmen and remember losing that first game and then that second game and that third game and taking it personally as seniors and saying, we're not losing all 4 years at Bramlage Coliseum. That's the way things used to be. You did have guys take it a little bit more personally. Now, you just have to decide that's what you want to do. You have to decide that it's important to you to win at Bramlage Coliseum as a Kansas Jayhawk, even if it's your only game you're ever going to play in that building. And those Kansas players decided it was important to them. And Kansas State just has not made the same calculation and the same decision. And look, it ain't all that for Kansas State. They just don't have the bodies, right? They're not big enough. They couldn't keep Kansas out of the paint. They couldn't get into the paint and score on Kansas. There were no easy baskets for Kansas State because they've got one facilitator with the basketball, 1.5. Castillo will give you that now and again. He's still getting there, still developing as a player. But if it's not Haggerty for himself, it's nobody, because he's not a great. He's the ball handler who can create, but he's only really good at creating for himself. He's not really good at creating for other guys. So it was hard. It was a hard game for Kansas State. And Bill Self made it, as the coach and with his scheme, a really hard game for Kansas State. But as that game got away from them, Kansas State let go of the rope. That's why they are where they are right now. And why Kansas, on the flip side, even without their best guy, again, with Darren Peterson sitting out on Saturday, they go and they roll their rival in a place that in recent years had been difficult to win. And now they're up to number 14 in the country, despite only occasionally having the guy around whom this was all built. That's
crazy, man.
That's the competitiveness difference. That's the difference. And so for Jerome Tang, if he gets another year, which is no guarantee, if he gets another year at Manhattan, instead of finding dudes, the focus needs to be on finding dogs. Instead of finding his next Keontae Johnson or PJ Haggerty, go find your first Melvin Council. Go find the guy for whom it is unacceptable to lose a basketball game. And you know what? Get more than one of those guys. You got to understand how those guys are wired. Who has Kansas State had that was like that? Who has Kansas State had since that first year's team where Desi Sills was like that? And it doesn't have to be your best player. It just needs to be somebody on your team in a leadership position who makes it very clear to the rest of the guys on the team, I'm not losing tonight. I don't know how y'all feel about this, but I'm not losing to these guys.
Well, I think that in general is the problem with the transfer portal is guys are, you don't get a lot of Melvin Councils who are all in wherever they go. They're just there for the paycheck, or there's not enough rooting interest because they weren't recruited as a freshman and they didn't have to sit as a freshman and watch everything happen, or they didn't play right away. They're not 3-4 year guys. And I think that makes all of this tough, on top of the fact that people are playing for money.
Well, it makes it tough, but doesn't make it impossible.
No,
there are a lot of really good teams all over the country whose guys are one-year transfers who are making a lot of money. It happens everywhere. Guys are getting paid at Arizona. Promise. They're number one in the country. I promise you their guys are getting paid. And they got guys who are only there for 1 year. You think Koa Pete's a 4-year guy? Braden Berry's a 4-year guy? No. The guy's getting paid at Michigan. Yaxel Lendeborg, he's a 1-year guy, 1-year transfer. I know he's getting big bank. That kept him out of the draft. He might have been a lottery pick. Doesn't seem to be a problem. His competitiveness and that team's competitiveness don't seem to be a problem. So it's not the money. It's not NIL. It's you're that guy or you're not. Melvin Council was that guy at St. Bonaventure. We didn't know it because who the hell's watching St. Bonaventure basketball? But that's who he is. And that's the trait that you've got to identify that I don't think Kansas State has done a good enough job identifying.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things you can poke at with regard to Jerome Tang's tenure. A lot of things you can pick at. But one thing that I think was really made obvious on Saturday, beyond an X's and O's perspective, was they have not identified dogs. They have not identified those kinds of players. Text from the 785 nods at that. I don't see K-State winning another basketball. All the Dobermans, we were all over guys. Where is that kind of attitude? It's a good question. Yeah. It's a good question. And you can be wonderfully talented. You can have great ability in basketball, but not have that edge, that mental toughness. And too often the last couple of years, I just don't think we have seen that exhibited by Kansas State's teams. And it's not, well, Jerome Tang, his guys are just too nice because that's how Jerome Tang is wired, and his guys are just too nice. I think Jerome Tang wants to win, man. I think he absolutely wants to win. I think he's wired to compete. Just don't think he's identified the guys on his roster who are wired to compete. Andrew pointing out, last guys I remember having that kind of mental toughness for K-State were those Michael Beasley and Bill Walker teams. I wouldn't even have, I don't think you have to go back that far. Like the Elite Eight team under Tang, like Keontae Johnson literally almost died on the basketball court. That's a dude who understands, like, ball is life. Desi Sills had a little bit of that jerk to him, that mental toughness, that attitude, that cutting edge. The Weber teams that won the league, went to the Elite Eight. Barry Brown was that kind of player. Barry Brown was that kind of competitor. Not everybody you recruit is going to be that guy, but you got to have somebody who gives you that the rest of your team can get behind. And for Kansas, and it's especially evident when Peterson doesn't play, because on those nights, you can argue Council is their best player. And it's always easy to rally behind your best player or the guy who has the ball all the time. You take on the personality of your best guys. And Kansas State has a little bit of a PJ Haggerty personality right now. And I don't think PJ Haggerty's a bad kid. I don't think he's a head case. I just don't think he's wired like Melvin Council is. Kansas has taken on his personality in a way that has really, really helped him. Jayhawker points out, I'm not even sure Melvin Council will be an all-conference player. The Big 12 is so loaded. Yeah, like, I don't know that there's a more important player to their team and their mental toughness than Melvin Council is. I think you could make that argument that he is as important to Kansas as any individual player is to their team in the league, particularly given how much more than anticipated has been put on his plate this year because of the absences of Darren Peterson. But would he be on my all-conference top 5 ballot right now? I'm not sure he would. Hey, you got to get JT Toppin on there. You got to get Dybance on there. You got to get Pete and Berries from Arizona probably on there. Gosh, who else? I mean, like, as good as Peterson has been, you might consider a vote for him. Gosh, who am I leaving off? Lipsy? Am I going to leave Lipsy and Momchilovich off?
Can't do that.
Am I going to leave off Sharp or Flemings? Did you see Kingston Flemings on Saturday? That young man had 42 in Lubbock. Wasn't good enough. Houston lost. They had 42.
Man.
Dybance had 43 against Utah. What is it with these freshmen, man? What's in the Wheaties?
I don't know, man. Trying to dissect who these. I mean, we're still got a month and a half or what? Yeah, a month and a half left of games, or 6 weeks, roughly, of regular season. Trying to dissect who's going to be on those Big 12 teams, man, that is hard.
Yeah,
I would not want to be a voter or the person that actually has to tabulate.
It's going to be one of those years. There's a bunch of ties, so the first team has like 8 guys.
Yeah, unfortunately. What is this?
Yeah, you're gonna leave somebody off if you vote for 5. We'll get CJ Moore's thoughts when we talk to him on Thursday, but yeah, as we get closer to the midway point of the season. But yeah, man, unbelievable year for individual talent in the league, and a guy like Council, who's I think has been really good. I think his impact on Kansas has certainly been in the stat sheet, but I think his impact has been larger as a leader, as a tone setter. And that's why you saw that Kansas team go into Kansas State like it had pissed them off to lose 3 straight years. What do you think Melvin Council was doing last year when K-State beat KU at Bramlage? And I know what he wasn't doing, watching that game.
He was probably playing George Mason or something.
Yeah, they were playing LaSalle.
Yeah.
or whoever. But yeah, he's something else, Melvin Council. And he also, I think, officially has entered that group of players where if he is on your team, you love him. And if he is not on your team, or if he is on your rival's team, you are going to say some things about him that are not very nice and maybe not very appropriate on Al Gore's internet. So yeah, that was my takeaway from that game. Obviously, Kansas is better; they've got better talent. It didn't matter the last 2 years. Kansas State outplayed them, outworked them, found a way at Bramlage. There was no guarantee Kansas was going to win. Certainly not without Peterson. They took it personally. It became personal for them in a way that I just don't think it has been for the Kansas State Wildcats this season. We're overdue for a break. We'll come back. We'll play a little What is wrong with you? Our first one of the week. That's coming up. 580 Sports Talk. A quick step aside from the world of sports for what is wrong with you, as we typically do this time of the program. 2 news stories as we start a new week on the show. I will go first. Looks like we have a bit of a commonality. Acts of battery committed with food. The food in question in my story, a ketchup packet. Do I say ketchup weird? Does it hit you weird when I say the word ketchup?
I don't think so. I say ketchup.
Yeah, my wife says it's ketchup. And like, okay, like I see the letter E, but I say, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. This is not dissimilar to the time that we derailed a segment of the show. And by we, I mean myself, Brendan Wrzinski, and Jake LeBon back in the day over my pronunciation of the word milk, which I say like milk. And Jake says, no, it's milk. I said, no, it's not. It's
okay,
milk.
That it is. It's milk.
It's not milk.
M-I-L-K.
That's not the way they. Okay, we're not doing this again.
It's not M-E-L-K.
See, that's what my wife says. I didn't pay attention, good enough attention to my phonics when
but
I was.
I will say ketchup.
She would say that. She's a first grader.
So
first
ketchup,
grade teacher.
Say it again.
Ketchup.
That's the same thing. You just have a little like oomph in it.
I feel like I'm right. I feel like I'm okay. Anyway, you got a ketchup packet, and the charge is felony battery, which is up to 5 years in state prison. And that's only in play here because 28-year-old Austin Simmons has a prior conviction. Monday, inside a Florida bus terminal, the victim of the assault was checking on Simmons, who appeared to be passed out. He woke up irate, then walked toward the victim and threw an open ketchup packet at the victim. Mora, the victim, suffered, quote, 2 spots of ketchup on his jacket. Cops found the packet on the ground, open with
that
ketchup
could give you
pouring out.
felony.
The packet, which holds about 0.3 ounces of ketchup, was not collected as evidence. Simmons denied striking Mora with the condiment, but reportedly admitted giving the victim a ketchup packet at speed. While the minor incident would normally be handled as a misdemeanor, Simmons was charged with a third-degree felony due to a 2019 battery conviction. He was also charged with possession of a controlled substance. He had some cocaine on him. So
you can't be having the crystals or the cocaine on you.
No, he threw a ketchup pack. He might do 5 years in jail. That's wild. Anyway, what's your story today?
We're going to Florida. A Florida teenager is behind bars after striking her mother with a pork chop during a domestic battery incident. Farah Kerman, 18, was arrested for battery following a disturbance on the 22nd at their Jensen Beach home she shares with the 46-year-old victim. She's locked up in the Martin County Jail on a $2,500 bond, according to the affidavit. Her mother told cops that she had been involved in a verbal dispute with her daughter, who she said had been drinking alcohol earlier in the day. During the argument, the woman alleged Kernan smacked her in the face and threw a pork chop at her. Police at the scene observed food residue on the victim's left shoulder, which was consistent with her statement. When questioned by cops, Kernan appeared confused and became emotionally upset, began screaming and crying, and continued to act uncooperatively. A friend of the victim, who was present in the residence, recorded the video of Kernan striking her mother. She was arrested. She was also arrested last year on a Jensen Beach causeway, a day after being issued a trespassing warning for a physical altercation with another female. As part of the deferred prosecution agreement, she was ordered to perform 50 hours of community service. So
I think
both of these people have they've done stuff
priors.
Yeah.
I think any parent, their prayer is, Lord, may it never come to pass that my drunk 18-year-old child throws a pork chop at me.
Yeah, man.
I would feel like I did a good job if I never get a pork chop hurled at me by any of my children. But you come down on pork chops anyway. Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs side.
Yeah, they're hard to get right.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a real balance you got to hit with a pork chop, because like you got to cook it all the way through. Obviously, you want it to be nice and juicy, but overcooked pork chop is disaster.
I think I have a pork chop in my freezer right now.
You get it right, really good.
From an old Omaha Steaks.
Oh, sure. You get them right, they're really good. Anyway, pork chop attack or ketchup battery? What do we like?
They're both absurd, but I think
really dumb.
I don't know. I'd like to see the video of this.
I gotta go with the drunk teen hurling a pork chop at her mom. Like
the
whole setup there. Yeah, drunk teenager hucking a pork chop at her mother. That's going to be the winner today on What Is Wrong With You. We'll take a quick time out here. When we come back, some thoughts from the text line, more thoughts from the live chat on YouTube, and a thought about what matters in the NFL and what was on display with the Final Four teams on Championship Sunday. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. Few comments from the live chat on YouTube. First, important question about the pork chop from West John on YouTube. Was that bone-in? A bone-in pork chop that 18-year-old threw at her mom?
Oh no, we'll have to see if I could find the video online.
Bone-in is tricky. That's even harder, I think, to cook and get exactly right.
Yeah, I've got 4 6-ounce boneless pork chops at home. Have yet to open them.
Ooh. You know, you get a little marinade and you soak them in the marinade for about 6 hours during the day that you're going to cook them, and then they take on the flavor. That can be really good. The other comment I wanted to get to from our discussion about the Sunflower Showdown earlier today, NPM in the YouTube comments. I didn't care for KU taunting at the end of the game. Also didn't care for Tang throwing his players under the bus. I don't think Tang's throwing his players under the bus. No. I think what NPM is referring to, and we didn't get to this, he specifically said that Nate Johnson needs to play better and David Castillo needs to play better. And he's right. They do. They need more from both of those guys. And it might be beyond what they can contribute. But look, they do need more from both of those guys. And I don't have a problem. Again, if we're going to talk about, these guys are NIL guys now, they make money, they're closer to professionals, then they ought to be able to handle it when their coach gets on the podium and says, look, those guys got to play better. You got to play better. Not only are you on scholarship. Yeah, not only you're on scholarship, you're paid. You're making money. You got to play better. I don't have a problem with Jerome Tang calling those guys out. I didn't have a problem with that. As for KU taunting at the end of the game, again, you get to do it when you're up that big, and you get to do it, and it's your rival, and it's just proof positive that game meant a little something more, because I don't think it meant that much to the KU teams the last couple of years who went to Bramlage and lost to inferior K-State teams. So I think that was, again, I think the fact that you saw that was the evidence of why it happened, why the game went the way it did, and this change in the attitude of this Kansas team this year. Want to get back into some football. So the Patriots and the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. The Seattle Seahawks made the Super Bowl, man. I can't believe it. It's incredible. Anyway, the Seahawks and the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl. Obviously, for the Patriots, this is not new. We have seen this, This is 11 times this century. Because Brady and Belichick went to 10, right? It was 7-3. Or no, yeah, he won. No, he won 6. It was 9 because they lost to the Giants twice and lost to the Eagles. So 1-6, lost to 9 times with Brady and Belichick, and then and this one. So it's 10 times this century, 11 times going back to the 90s. Yeah, the year they lost to Green Bay, Super Bowl 31. The Seahawks, this is their 4th Super Bowl in 21 years. They had never been to one before Super Bowl 40 in 2005. So it's their 4th Super Bowl in the last 21 years. The teams that they beat, the Broncos were looking to go to their 3rd Super Bowl in the last 13 years. 12 years. 3rd Super Bowl in the last 12. And obviously would have been their 10th all time. They've been 9. Elway lost 4, 1, 2. Oh, no. Elway lost 3. Craig Morton lost 1. Then they won 2. Then they've been to 3 this century. So that would have been their 10th Super Bowl all time. The Rams were looking for their 3rd under Sean McVay. So what you had here at the end, franchises that have done a lot of winning, stable franchises with front offices that have been there for a long time, franchises with ownership groups that have been there a long time. And the one exception to that rule, the Broncos, their ownership group is relatively new. They had that. It's not a coincidence that the Broncos went into about a decade-long hole when the surviving Bolins were fighting over which of them was going to take over the team when it got placed into a trust after Pat Bolin died. Their ownership brought in, after a couple of misfires, they brought in a Hall of Fame head coach. They brought in a Super Bowl winning head coach. And a coach that sometimes gets a little high on his own supply, But there's no doubt Sean Payton is one of the best to do this in his era. So
100%.
So I think what you take away from this season and what the final four teams that were left sort of symbolize is the value of coaching, the value of continuity, the value of organizations with structures in place that have led to and been conducive to winning. It is not an accident. Like, I know everybody's making the same jokes like, wow, man, what long-suffering Patriots fans. They had to suffer for the Patriots were bad for a whole 15 minutes, and now here they are back in the Super Bowl. And everybody's rolling their eyes about it because America got sick of the Brady Belichick Patriots. Even my wife. You know, I'm watching the game with Abby, and she's saying, I don't want the Patriots to win. Like, I understand you don't want the Broncos to win. I said, yes, correct. And she said, but I also don't really want the Patriots to win. I said, well, if it helps any, these are completely different Patriots teams than the Brady Belichick teams. She said, yeah, but still. And I understand. I understand feeling that way. But look, Robert Kraft has been the owner of that team since the early 90s. They've now, over the course of 4 decades, made Super Bowl runs, obviously the vast majority of them with the Brady Belichick core, but they did it with Bill Parcells and Drew Bledsoe in the 90s. They were good enough that Pete Carroll, before his trip to USC, took a Patriots team to the playoffs. And now here they are with Mike Vrabel and Drake May, and they're back in the Super Bowl. That, to me, says something about more than just a coach, more than just a quarterback. There is a structure in place there.
A Patriot way.
A Patriot way. And Vrabel now putting his own spin on that as the head coach after the years he spent as a player.
That's what I'm saying. I think the impact as a player there is huge. But I also think I wonder when things are all said and done and I don't know how they calculate this, but do you think that Robert Kraft will be the most winningest owner in NFL history?
I don't know how you calculate that. I mean, I don't know any other owner who's got as many championship rings. Like,
is he
it depends on how you define, because like the Rooney family has owned the Steelers for all those years, but Art's been dead a long time. Hasn't been in charge of things for a long time. So yeah, I think you would probably say that there aren't many owners with,
because I mean, it's
6
clear
championship rings, and
like they lost for a couple of years, and he's like, I'm not having this.
Yeah.
And he split with like the one of the most successful head coaches in the NFL.
Yeah, and it bears,
and that shows a lot of coolness.
And it bears recognizing that after the great Brady Belichick schism, Belichick went on to stink it up the last couple of years in New England, and now stinking it up in North Carolina. Brady went on to win another Super Bowl. And now here the Patriots are with a new coach and a second-year quarterback, and they're in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But, yeah, that's the Patriots. For the Seahawks, John Schneider is the first general manager ever to be in the same job and go to Super Bowls, multiple Super Bowls, while not having the same head coach or a single player holdover from one of the Super Bowls. He's been to 2 Super Bowls now as 3 now as a general manager, the 14-15 teams, and now this one. And there's not a single holdover, not a coach, not a player. Most of those guys, except for Bobby Wagner, are all retired anyway. And that says something about organizational structure. And look, they have resurrected Sam Darnold. Like, Sam Darnold has obviously evolved beyond the guy we kind of all thought he was. When I say we, it's not the royal we, I mean me and others. But before Sam Darnold, there was Geno Smith. There was a quarterback that nobody believed was a starting caliber quarterback in the league who became that and guided the Seahawks to the playoffs. So clearly, and then again, that's different coaching staff. But clearly there is something in play there in Seattle that has nurtured a culture of winning and a culture where guys can become the best versions of themselves. That's the new, if there's going to be a paradigm shift in the NFL moving forward. I don't necessarily think it's going to be, well, we don't need to have an elite quarterback. We don't need to have a Mahomes or a Stafford or a Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson to make it happen. I don't think that's going to be the paradigm shift. It's going to be, we need stability. We need to be and act like a winning organization. Because the organizations that don't do that, did you see the graphic going around yesterday? There were 3 old posts from the social media website formerly known as Twitter. And they were from the Atlanta Falcons 2 years ago. And one of them said, we have completed our interview with Mike Vrabel for our head coaching position. And one of them said, we have completed our interview with Mike McDonald for our head coaching position. And the third of them said, got him. We've hired Raheem Morris as our next head football coach.
Yeah,
that's why they're them.
I'm a little bitter about all this because do you know who offered Mike McDonald, excuse me, a coaching contract before the Seahawks?
Was it the Washington Commanders?
Yes, and do you know what the Seahawks did in their contract?
What did they do?
They upped the money.
They paid him more? Well, get your weight up, not your hate up.
Also, shout out to my most hated man of all time, Dan Snyder, for firing Marty Schottenheimer in 2001, along with director of player personnel or vice president of player personnel, John Snyder.
Yeah. John Snyder, came up through Washington with Scott McCloughan and those guys. And they all... well,
no, I mean, he has a crazy career, but he had gotten hired with Schottenheimer.
Yeah.
And then when Daniel Snyder said, I'm tired of this. Nobody's going to win now. I'm firing both of them. And then Schneider went to go on to be part of the Packers organization, who was just growing and continuing to win. And then he went to the Seahawks, and what did he grow? He continued to grow, won a Super Bowl, went to another one, and is back in another one.
It's why losing organizations stay losing and winning organizations stay winning. And and the Seahawks are probably the best proof here is but the Patriots, I mean, you think about historically what they were before, like the 90s, before Kraft's ownership, they were a joke. You can just decide, we're going to act like a winning organization. We're going to make this happen. We're going to hire good coaches. We're going to hire good front office people. We're going to give them space to work. The Chiefs, same thing. Same exact thing. They thought they were importing the Patriot way when they brought Scott Pioli in. Obviously, that was a disaster. They brought in Andy Reid. They said, we're going to bring in a winner. We're going to act like a winning organization. And now they are. You can just decide that that's what you want to be and put people in place, and you don't mess around with them. And this is what you can be. That's what wins in the NFL. Culture wins. Coaching wins. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour. Remember back before the playoffs started, we did a playoff pool where the three of us, myself, Spencer, and Brendan, drafted the 14 playoff teams, get points for playoff victories. And through 3 rounds, I'm in the lead, but it doesn't matter because whoever picks the champion is going to win. I have 90 points. I had the Eagles. I had the 49ers. No. 49? No. I had the Eagles. I had the Bills. I had the Patriots. I had the Broncos. So I had 2 conference championship game participants, which was pretty good. Spencer, you only had 1 team make it out of the first weekend, but it was the Seahawks. And so you have 50 points.
Yeah.
And Brendan has 50 points, but no teams obviously remaining. Picking the Super Bowl champion is 50 points. So if the Seahawks win, you win the pool. If the Patriots win, I win the pool. It's not going to be consolation for me if I win the pool. Let's just say that. We got headlines. We got more talk from championship weekend. We'll hear from Andy Reid next hour right here on 580 Sports Talk on WIBW. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is across the glass. Brendan Dwortinski is off today. We're with you for one more hour. Then tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas at 6:45, give or take, we've got coverage of the championship game of the 65th Topeka Invitational Tournament as Topeka West battles Topeka High in the 65th edition of that tournament's championship game. Look forward to having you join me for that one. I'll be on the call from the pressure cooker at Highland Park as the Trojans and the Chargers battle for 501 supremacy, Capital City supremacy, and the TIT title. 6:45 pregame coverage. Again, give or take a few minutes there. The scheduled tip-off is 7 o'clock. We'll have the action for you right here. 580 Preps coverage of the 65th Topeka Invitational Tournament on 580 WIBW. A tape-delayed edition of the Jeff Mitty Show will follow. Still to come on this final hour of 580 Sports Talk, we got more to say about the conference championship football games that saw the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks advance to the Super Bowl. Can you believe it, man? The Seahawks, they're in the Super Bowl. How about that?
Yeah, I was talking to coworker Britt Zweigert earlier. He was wearing his Seahawks hoodie today, and yeah, he was really happy.
Yeah, it's normally when I was saying this top of the 3 o'clock hour. Normally, when my teams have done that well, like the two, like 2014, 2015, when the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, or when the Avs won the Cup in 2022, then the Nuggets won the NBA championship in 2023. There were expectations. I had the belief from the opening bell, this team can absolutely, and maybe even should, win the whole thing. And so when you have that feeling about it, sometimes when your team actually does it, when they check the boxes along the way, it feels more like a relief than you enjoy it. But when it's this unexpected, kind of like when your Commanders went to the NFC Championship game last year, it was so unexpected. Yeah. You don't feel like the burden of expectations. You just enjoy what you see. Just have some fun with what you're watching. So that's where I'm at. I'm enjoying it. I wasn't even stressed out during the championship. Like a lot of times during games, I'll get so stressed out I can't eat. Like, I don't know if that's a unique condition or if my brain is just broken in that way. But if it's a big game, one of my favorite teams, there will be times I can't eat. Like,
so you're saying during Super Bowl Sunday you won't be able to eat, maybe?
Listen, I ate half a pizza during the NFC Championship game, man. I did not feel it. I felt a calm. I felt a peace. I don't know what that is, but I liked it. I liked feeling that way, and I like how I feel today. I get to watch my favorite team play in the Super Bowl this year. Never thought that was going to be the case. So
did you hear Zach Topp's rendition of the national anthem?
I don't know who that is.
Really good country musician.
He had a sick jacket. I wasn't really listening to the anthem. I just know that the jacket was very nice.
He's
and when
he brings back the old 90s country feel.
Now, when I think about the Seattle music scene, I definitely think about 90s country.
When
I think about the Seattle music scene in the 90s, country is the first thing I think.
He's from Sunnyside, Washington.
Should always be like Eddie Vedder. Eddie Vedder should sing the national anthem at every Seattle sporting event. I guess he's like still actively a musician and touring.
Zach Top is the headliner for night 2 of Stampede.
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Well, learning something new every day. Anyhow, we'll have more to say about those conference championship games, some other angles that we could chew on. We're also going to hear from Andy Reid, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're used to playing on this week or that past Sunday and having another game 2 weeks from today, but obviously not the case for the Chiefs this season. But Chiefs were in the news last week announcing Eric Bieniemy as their new offensive coordinator. We aren't going to play the entirety of Reid's 17-minute Zoom press conference today, but we'll play the greatest hits because I think it's noteworthy what he has to say about, one, Matt Nagy, the now departed offensive coordinator, but two, what he expects Eric Bieniemy to bring to the Chiefs that I think is really noteworthy. And we'll hear a little bit from Andy Reid later on this hour. We got our headlines as well. Want to hear from you. Of course, the text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That is 785-272-9429. You can also hit us up in the live chat on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. If you are watching us live, we're live every day on our YouTube channel. So go subscribe. Check us out on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube and interact in that live chat and grow the 580 Sports Talk community. Want to do some headlines?
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and knock out some headlines. That'll leave us plenty of room for Andy Reid and some other conference championship thoughts. We'll start with the AP's top 25 men's basketball poll released today. Kansas is the 6th highest ranked Big 12 team this week, and they are the 14th ranked team in America. That's how good the Big 12 is right now. Arizona is your unanimous number 1 for the second straight week. All 60 first place votes to the Wildcats. They are 20-0, one of 3 unbeaten teams in the country. UConn, Michigan, Duke, and Nebraska round out the top 5. Like, if not for national champion Indiana football, top 5 undefeated Nebraska basketball would be the most unlikely college sports thing happening right now. I'll feel a little bad. Like, if it were the inverse, right? National champion Nebraska football and Indiana's 20-0 in basketball, we'd be like, yeah, that seen that, lived through that. But yeah, Nebraska 20-0. They're number 5 in the country and are on a 24-game winning streak dating back to last season. Gonzaga, Michigan State, Iowa State, Illinois, and Houston rounding out the top 10. So you have Arizona, Iowa State, and Houston in the top 10 from the Big 12. Then number 11, Texas Tech, number 12, Purdue, number 13, BYU, and number 14, Kansas. So 3 more Big 12 teams, bringing it to 6 in the top 14. Arkansas is 15th. 16 through 20, North Carolina, Virginia, Vanderbilt, Florida, and Louisville. 21 through 25, St. Louis, Clemson, Alabama, Miami of Ohio, the 3rd unbeaten left in college basketball, and St. John's climbing back into the top 25. They were the preseason number 5, but hadn't been in the poll since mid-December. So there you have it. Kansas up to number 14 as they continue to rise up the top 25 with a pair of wins last week over Colorado and Kansas State. Next headline, Spencer.
Yeah, I'll give you 2 quick KU headlines. First, for the men, are going to host College Game Day before the BYU game Saturday. It's this coming Saturday. The broadcast will be live at 10 a.m. on ESPN, according to KU Athletics. That more information will be disseminated this week. I would assume that means maybe some fans could go, students or fans, for their audience. Usually they do that.
Yeah.
So I would assume we'll hear more later this week, but it'll be the second College Game Day on site at a college this year, following being in Lubbock this past weekend. Reese Davis, Jay Billis, Jay Williams, Andrea Carter, and Seth Greenberg are all the crew for College Game Day. So game will be set for 3:30. So it's not a traditional like nooner, I think, that they did last year. I think they had one with Game Day and then they had a noon game. But KU will get College Game Day for hoops this weekend. KU women's player freshman Julia Davis has been named Big 12 Freshman of the Week, becoming only the 5th player in conference history to receive that honor 4 consecutive weeks. She is just killing it. Unfortunately, KU as a team hasn't been that great this season. You would think, if we got our conference freshman of the week 4 weeks in a row, we're on like a 7th game winning streak. No, they've unfortunately just won 2 in a row, but a big win yesterday in the Sunflower Showdown. One that did not have K-State's Tess Heel due to an NCAA violation. It appears she signed a pro contract overseas that's set to start in March.
So Tess Heel's from Australia, correct? I believe she signed she agreed to terms with a professional team in Australia.
But not until late March.
Like she will not play for that team until her college career is over.
Yeah.
That's not okay. But Charles Bediako can go straight from the G League to suiting up for Alabama on Saturday against Tennessee after playing in the G League for the last 2 years. So somebody who's already played professional basketball, and not just him as somebody, a lot of somebodies can play professional basketball in different countries and be eligible immediately to play college basketball. But somebody setting up their professional future for the conclusion of their college career is now not allowed to play college basketball. It doesn't make a lick of sense. And I feel bad for Tess Heel, and I feel bad for Kansas State women's basketball. It's a bad situation. The NCAA is a joke, needs to be disbanded. Anyway, next headline. Let's go to some NFL headlines. Over the weekend, the Pittsburgh Steelers hired Mike McCarthy as their next head football coach.
A true Yinzer taking the position.
Yes, he's from Pittsburgh. It is the most un-Steelers thing I think that organization has done maybe in my lifetime. Think about the last three coaches. And of course, the Steelers are legendary for their continuity at head coach, right?
Yes.
Like Chuck Noll got the head coaching job of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1969. He was 37 years old when he got the job. He'd been in coaching since 1960. He was 37 years old. He was a young defensive coordinator. He'd been the defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Colts from 1966 to 1968. So had a run with that franchise. 37 years old when he got that job. Bill Cowher, also a Yinzer, as they say. Bill Cowher was 35 when he became the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was obviously the defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. The years before that had also had a couple of stints, or a stint in Cleveland in a couple of different roles. 35 years old, defensive background, became the Steelers head coach. Mike Tomlin became the Steelers head coach at the ripe old age of 35. After having been a defensive coordinator with the Vikings for a year, defensive backs coach in some other places, a little bit of a college track record there. 37, 35, and 35 defensive backgrounds. Only one of them, only one of them a native son, though Chuck Noll's from Cleveland. And so, that Midwestern, Rust Belt sort of background. Now they've hired 62-year-old Mike McCarthy, offensive coach, retread, third different stop in the league.
He's been out of the league for, did he take 1 or 2 years?
Took a year.
Okay, so he's taken a year between both head coaching gigs.
It's just so antithetical to everything the Steelers have done in the history of their organization. And look, Chuck Noll won Super Bowls, plural. Bill Cowher won a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin won a Super Bowl. You talk about stability. You talk about an identity. The Steelers have always had that. And now they're hiring 62-year-old Mike McCarthy because, he's from Pittsburgh. And, maybe he can convince our 42-year-old quarterback to give it another go with us next year so we can continue to kick the can down the road on finding our next franchise quarterback. I asked Matt Verderame in the 3 o'clock hour NFL Insider, what's the best case scenario for McCarthy's tenure in Pittsburgh? And he said that they're the same that they were before, that they're exactly what they were in the last few years of Mike Tomlin. Good enough to get in the playoffs and do precisely nothing when they get there. That seems to be the upside of this hire.
I mean, look, you look at the numbers for his career, and his career kind of reads like Mike Tomlin, right? Maybe a few bad, not exactly where he's over
like
500.
you look at the record, he's won a lot of games. He probably gets more grief than he deserves.
I mean, he's
as
174, 112, and 2, and he's 11-11 in the playoffs.
It's not a very dissimilar track record to John Harbaugh. He's a year younger than Harbaugh. It's a very similar resume just based on wins and losses and Super Bowl rings and things like that. And everybody wanted John Harbaugh, and everybody thinks John Harbaugh is this incredible hire. I think why McCarthy gets criticized is his offense feels a bit outmoded. And again, like Tomlin, like Harbaugh, those Cowboys teams were just good enough to get into the playoffs. They weren't scaring anybody once they got into the playoffs. It just felt like you had a very defined ceiling. Like McCarthy raised your ceiling, raised your floor, but he was also your ceiling in a way that it felt like Mike Tomlin had become the ceiling a little bit in Pittsburgh. My dad, Steeler fan, as some of you know, not a Tomlin guy. Not a Tomlin fan. He sent me a meme yesterday that he saw online. Or maybe one of his friends or his uncle who's a Steelers fan sent it to him. I don't know. But he sent it to me. And the meme said, letting go of Mike Tomlin and hiring Mike McCarthy. And I'm going to have to sanitize this for the radio. Letting go of Mike Tomlin and hiring Mike McCarthy is like crapping your pants and changing your shirt. So that's what some Steelers fans think about hiring Mike McCarthy. I think my theory, they wanted Jesse Minter, who got hired by Baltimore, to be their new head coach. I think they wanted Jesse Minter because what's Jesse Minter's background? Defense, right? Defensive assistant. Jesse Minter is 42. Young, defensive-minded coach. It was a perfect straight line. There would have been a through line from Minter to Tomlin to Cowher to Knoll to that Steeler tradition. I think they fumbled the bag on Minter and they panicked. I don't think they had a plan B.
Yeah.
I think they fumbled the bag on Minter and they panicked because Minter would have made so much sense. Meanwhile, Minter goes to Baltimore, which is, I don't think we ever talked about that. We were going to have a show Friday because of Topeka Invitational tournament coverage. So we never really got to talk about Minter to Baltimore. A+ hire. Number one, gets them out of the AFC West. Feel good about that if you're a Chief, Bronco, or Raider fan.
Well, I think we did. Brendan was on the show Thursday, and I think we hit on it.
Did you guys talk about it then?
Yeah, because we talked about it being funny that a Harbaugh guy got the job.
Yeah, he does. He comes from the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree.
He coached with John.
Yeah, in Baltimore from 2017 to 2020. Yeah,
before he went to Michigan, and then ultimately followed Jim to the NFL.
I just think it's further proof that the Ravens felt like, look, we got a lot of good things going here, but we've gone as far as we can with John Harbaugh. We need something fresh. And there's nothing wrong with saying, yeah, we need something fresh. We need somebody younger. And if they've got a little background knowledge of our operation, that would probably be okay. But no, I think that was an A+ hire for the Ravens. And I think, this is my theory, and it's not the kind of thing, if I'm right, we'll ever know about publicly. But so I can never really be wrong saying something like this. But yeah, I think the Steelers never had a plan B. I think Minter was their guy. I think they fumbled the bag. I think they panicked and they hired Mike McCarthy because it just, in the history of their franchise, just doesn't make a single bit of sense.
Yeah.
The other NFL thing I wanted to nod at today, the Pro Bowl games coming up this next Sunday.
No, it's Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday?
Next Tuesday. They've moved it. One, it was in Orlando.
Uh-huh.
And now they've moved it to the Super Bowl location, and they've moved it to Tuesday as part of the festivities in the week.
Well, it goes to show you how much attention I pay to the Pro Bowl games. Anyway, Shedeur Sanders is going to be in the Pro Bowl games because the AFC needed a new quarterback with Drake May, obviously heading to the Super Bowl, and they found Shedeur Sanders because, look, NFL wants you to watch these Pro Bowl games. They're going to find a reason to get some people to watch these Pro Bowl games. And better for worse, there's Shedeur Sanders stands out there, and they will watch their guy in the Pro Bowl games. But I think this is officially, if it wasn't the Tyler Huntley addition to the Pro Bowl roster, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago? If it wasn't that did it for you, this is the death of the Pro Bowl selection as anything meaningful. You can no longer, like, I still think it means something if you go to a bunch of them. Like, if you go to, how many Kelsey been to? Like 8 Pro Bowls? Like, if you've been to a bunch, have been selected to a bunch of Pro Bowls, 11. Travis Kelce's been to 11. Like, I still think that means something, but don't tell me a player is good because they've made a Pro Bowl. Oh, this guy, yeah, he's a Pro Bowler. He may have been to a couple Pro Bowl. I don't care. Shedeur Sanders made a Pro Bowl. That's going to be on his Pro Football Reference page the rest of his career, even if a start after this in his career isn't on his Pro Football Reference page. He can be a Pro Bowler forever. And good for him and good for the NFL. I'm not going to say anything nasty about Shedeur Sanders as a person. I don't. That's not my place. I'm not going to do that. But
just know he went 120 for 212 with exactly 1,400 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions.
And the coach that developed a Pro Bowl quarterback out of a rookie 5th-round pick got fired. Imagine that. Imagine firing a coach that developed a Pro Bowl starter from a rookie 5th-round pick. Man, imagine firing Kevin Stefanski. Anyhow, that's the thing that happened today. It will change my plans to watch the Pro Bowl games, not one iota. I'll be damned if I'm watching some damn flag football. I don't care who's playing in it. That's going to be it for 580 Sports Talk Headlines. We'll come back. We'll hear from Andy Reid, head coach of the Chiefs, spoke to the media earlier today. We won't hear his remarks in full, but we'll hear a couple of things that I thought were interesting enough to pull out and play for you next year on 580 Sports Talk. 529 on 580 Sports Talk. Earlier today, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid fired up a laptop, got on Zoom, and answered reporter questions, made a statement at the beginning about the change of hands at offensive coordinator from Matt Nagy to Eric Bieniemy. Broke a little bit of news in the process, answered several questions that pared this down to the greatest hits, if you will. He spoke for about 17 minutes. He got about 4.5 minutes of it here. We'll hear Andy Reid talk about the changeover from Reid to Bieniemy. What he expects Bieniemy to bring to his position as the offensive coordinator. Here's Andy Reid from earlier today.
I think we all know how the energy that Eric brings and what he gives to a football team. So, and he's coming off a heck of a season with the Chicago Bears. My hat goes off to the Bears and the great job that they did there. And then on the other hand, we had another great coordinator here too with Matt Nagy, and this gives Matt an opportunity to go out and run his show there and do what he does best, taking 2 Super Bowl championships with him and 3 Super Bowl appearances. So he'll and a top 10 offense that he was working with this past year. So he'll go out and be able to put his own mark on things. And and that takes my name off of it, and he gets the purity of it. I was hoping that it would be a head coaching position. It still might be that. He deserves that for definitely for sure. And if that doesn't work, it gives him an opportunity to step in as a coordinator and run a show from there. So it's a win-win, I think, on both sides for both coaches. And again, we're glad that EB was able to come back in and jump in that position and bring all the knowledge that he has likewise to the table.
Hey, Andy, just to start off with, you seem pretty fired up about this. Can you go into why this hire fires you up?
Well, listen, I'm fired up to get in this offseason and get going. I mean, we didn't do very well this past year, and that's not been our MO there. So I want to fix a problem, and let's the problems that we had and in all phases. This isn't just an offensive, in all phases. We've had some guys that have some guys, there'll be people that move on. There'll be people that come in, players, and a couple of quality control guys left and a couple other guys left. And so we'll cover all that down the road here, but it's, change can be good sometimes for you. And so that's what I'm fired up about.
And what do you think EB is specifically going to do for Patrick at this point in his career?
Yeah, I mean, he brings it. Patrick knows him, first of all, Jesse. And then I tell you, EB will be very direct with him like he does with everybody. And but he knows it's coming from a place of knowledge there that he knows. And Patrick, you guys could take this whole thing a couple different ways. So I want to make sure we're saying this right. Patrick loved Nags, and he also loves EB. So this isn't either or deal. It's one guy having to replace another guy and that's not what this is about. But I want to make sure Nags gets his shout out here too, and that EB gets his for coming in here.
You've mentioned that, you want to get things fixed and cleaned up from what went wrong in 25. What do you feel like is the biggest way that EB can do that? What's the area where you feel like he can make the biggest impact?
First of all, I'm going to tell you this, Matt. Find a year where I haven't said that. Now, maybe you can blow it up, but every year I'm going to tell you whether we win the Super Bowl or not, man. There's areas that we got to go through and hash out here and make sure we get better at. So I think that's every year. I think it's every game. If you can kind of keep that mentality through the day, you're going to be okay and get yourself better. But I think EB, what are some of his strengths? I think he's got a great knowledge of the offense. I think he's understands leadership. I've always said he's a great leader of men, whether it's coaches, players. I think he does a heck of a job there. He's good with you guys. He's very honest with you. And there's no hidden agendas. I mean, that's just his personality. And listen, we're talking about EB here. So I'm not talking about Matt Nagy. That's not what we're doing. We're not comparing here. This is EB. You asked me his strengths. Those are his strengths.
So that was some of what Andy Reid had to say about his new offensive coordinator, who was also his old offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, and also his old offensive coordinator, Matt Nagy, who is now, again, his old offensive coordinator. And two things jumped out to me. Number one, wanted to make it very, very clear that players really like Matt Nagy, that he really likes Matt Nagy, and that Matt Nagy is only not the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs today because this was always the plan, that they were going to let him go and sow his oats and go be a head coach somewhere else. That was always the idea, that once your contract runs out, you're going to be free to go pursue a head coaching job. And in that way, it is not dissimilar to how things ended in Kansas City with Eric Bieniemy, where Eric Bieniemy decided to take an offensive coordinator job somewhere else. You heard Andy Reid talk about, wanting to go do something with his name on it, Matt Nagy's name on it, that doesn't also have Andy Reid's name on it. Did not really work for Eric Bieniemy. That's why he's back, part of why he's back. But apparently it was always the plan that Matt Nagy was just never going to be back. They were going to let him try and pursue something else. The other thing that jumps out when I ask about what Eric Bieniemy is going to bring to the offense, it was, well, he knows the offense. And that doesn't sound to me like Andy Reid's going to sit Eric Bieniemy down and said, you have traveled the globe from Washington to UCLA and Chicago, and now you are back here. Impart unto me your new wisdom that you have gained, and let's freshen up our offense. That doesn't sound like that's what's happening here.
It should.
It sounds like what's happening here is, yeah, we just need to be better. We just need to execute our stuff better. And Eric Bieniemy can help us execute our stuff better because he can communicate our stuff, because he holds people accountable. And all those things are true. Like, I think that is the positive of having Bieniemy around. And I've said already, I think rather than needing a buddy in the meeting room, which I think Nagy was a buddy type of coach, rather than that, they need a butt chewer in that room. And that's much closer to Eric Bieniemy's personality, Eric Bieniemy's style. I think there is benefit in that. But it did not strike me in listening to Andy Reid today that they are planning to do a whole lot that is different and new. They're going to do the old stuff. They're just going to try to do the old stuff better. And old stuff's feeling a little stale, man. And look, I know that the floor is incredibly high because you've got the best quarterback in the NFL. And if he's healthy, you don't have to worry about a whole lot for the Chiefs offensively. It's only but so bad you're going to be with that guy under center. But, man, I would just love to see some different things, some more unique things conceptually next year. And right now where it sits, I think we're going to see more of the same. And
well, I don't think he's been in the building yet, so I don't know what. Like maybe we see a little bit more.
I mean, I'm not ruling it out,
but also
I'm not ruling it out, but that does not sound like that was, I'm bringing Eric Bieniemy back to have a new look and a fresh perspective. They sound like we're bringing Eric Bieniemy back because we missed his old perspective.
And to me, I don't know. Did you get a chance to take a look at most of it?
No, I listened to the whole thing, but I don't watch it.
Okay, so that's what I meant. Listen to it. We never heard any reporting of anybody else interviewing for the Chiefs offensive coordinator position.
Right.
I think it was always, no matter what, it was Eric Bieniemy. I don't think anybody else. Maybe they interviewed.
No, and
their
that's
top, whoever's still there on the offensive side.
And that's kind of what I'm driving at. They don't believe that the offense, the scheme, is the problem.
Yeah.
They believe the execution of the scheme is the problem. And maybe they're right. Like,
but I mean, you give me a guy that knows running backs, I think that might help a little bit.
Yes, like I do.
You got to bring in the guys that can do it.
I'm not saying there's no upside to the Bieniemy hire. I think that's part of the potential upside for bringing him back in. But what I am driving at is, if you were hoping that a change at offensive coordinator was going to dramatically change the scheme or the way the Chiefs offense looked, less and less I feel like that's going to happen. It's just going to be an insistence on, we're going to do the same stuff we always do. We're just going to do it better. We're just going to have to do it. We're going to have more accountability when we get it wrong. And so that's going to make us get it right more often. And maybe that works. Maybe that's good enough. But we'll see. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We got some more final thoughts on the championship Sunday in the NFL that has given us the unlikeliest Super Bowl matchup, according to the Vegas odds, in history. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. 542 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. According to Pro Football Reference, Super Bowl 60 will be the first ever Super Bowl featuring two teams that entered the season with 60-1 or worse odds to win the Super Bowl. Lists of teams since 1989 to make the Super Bowl with preseason odds of 50-1 or worse include the 2008 Arizona Cardinals. They were 50-1 preseason. The 2000 Giants, 2003 Panthers, 2015 Panthers, and 2025 Seahawks were all 60-1 preseason to go to the Super Bowl. The Patriots this year were 80-1 preseason odds. The Bengals in 2021 and the Rams in 1999 were 150-1 odds of going to the Super Bowl. So this is, and I'm glad that I saw the stat because I was thinking about it last night as I basked in the glow a little bit, the unlikelihood that these Seattle Seahawks, who nobody believed was a contender, least of all me, back in August, is the NFC champion. And I wondered, this has to be, like, go back to August. What do we think of the Patriots? They were a 4-win team last year. Drake May might be good. Mike Vrabel's a big upgrade as a head coach. Didn't make him a Super Bowl team. They're in the same division as the Bills, for God's sake.
Yeah, maybe fringe trying to make the wild card.
Yeah, like, I think I had them as my third wild card team in the AFC.
Yeah.
Like, I thought, okay, yeah, there's a little upside here. I like Mike Vrabel a lot. Like, yeah, this team could maybe sneak into the playoffs. The Seahawks, well, they signed Sam Darnold. We know what that looks like in big games, but they got a good young defense and a good young head coach. But also they traded DK Metcalf. They got old. They signed DeMarcus Lawrence, who's old, and Cooper Kupp, who's old.
Unproven Sam Darnold was my biggest thing about them.
So, like, this did not feel particularly possible, even with the benefit of hindsight. Didn't feel real possible. And the numbers actually kind of back that up. So that was kind of fun. Andrew makes this point, and I want to make this personal again real quick. Andrew points out that the last time the Seahawks and Patriots played in the Super Bowl was the Malcolm Butler interception on the final meaningful play of the game. Yep, the interception 1 yard line. That is the number one reason I wish the Broncos had won on Sunday instead. Not because, it would have been a better matchup for the Seahawks or whatever. It's because I got to see that damn Malcolm Butler interception. You know how many times I've seen it? And it's not even 24 hours. I've seen that play. I've seen the still image of the play. I've seen the video. I've seen it so many damn times. You know, I used to turn the TV off when I thought they were going to show that play. You know how long I did that?
Jeez.
You know how long I did that for? 10 years. I did that for a decade. I don't want to see that play. And now I got to watch it again for 2 weeks. You know what would have been more fun? If they'd have played the Broncos, we could have seen that snap fly over Peyton Manning's head for 2 weeks. We could have seen Malcolm Smith intercept Peyton Manning or Percy Harvin run that kickoff back. We could have watched that for the next 2 weeks. No, I got to watch Malcolm Butler intercept Russell Wilson at the 1 yard line ad infinitum for the next 2 weeks. I hate it. Better than the alternative, though, as far as not having the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Anyway, two things I want to ask about from the weekend that was. To the AFC game. We haven't said a lot about the AFC game because the AFC game was dog crap, and the weather had a lot to do with that.
Yes.
What do you make of that? What do you make of the takes that, well, it's too bad that something as important as a conference championship was decided in such gnarly weather? Like, what do you make of this whole idea that it's a shame when weather intervenes in a game? Because I think that the weather is just, as long as you play outdoors, then the weather is always going to be a potential part of the story. And that two things can be true. That, yes, the weather conditions were so bad in Denver in the second half that it rendered that football game almost unplayable. But also, both teams are playing in it, and somebody's got to be a winner. So go figure it out. Go make a play to win a game. Nobody cares if the wind's 50 miles an hour. Nobody cares if the snow's in your eyes. Nobody cares if it's snowing and you're wearing white and you can't see your teammates. Like, I'm sure it was hard for the Patriots to see. Go win. go find a way. That's part of the game. I don't understand the moaning over it.
No, and I don't either. And that I feel like is the point. Look, the Broncos pride themselves on being the cold weather team, right?
Home field advantage.
Home field
altitude
advantage.
more so than the cold, but yeah.
But like they could, if they wanted to, when they built the new Mile High, they could have made it a dome, but they didn't.
They're going to. Their next stadium.
My mom texted me after the game. She's not a huge sports fan, but she'll watch games, whatever, at this point. So she understands what's going on in the Super Bowl. She's like, why don't the Broncos have a dome? I'm like, they're going to soon, but they it's Denver. You think that is a home field advantage, but it didn't help them this year.
No, it didn't. Do you think I asked Matt Verderame this? Do you think if Bo Nix had played instead of Jarrett Stidham, they would have won the game? The Broncos, that is.
Potentially.
See,
I don't know. And he's got that magic with the last few minutes. So
my whole thing with Nix is I don't think he's like real good. I don't think he like I've come at least as far to say he's not bad. Like you don't win in spite of Bo Nix. There have been games where they have won in spite of Bo Nix. Like he's probably about average, maybe slightly above average on his best days. But the things that Nix does well, throw accurately, short and intermediate, and not make negative plays.
Yeah.
His sack rate is the best in football. He doesn't get sacked. And he threw 12 picks this year. Last year, he didn't throw nearly as many. But avoiding the negative plays and keeping the trains running on time. That's what Bo Nix does. I don't think that's like a special skill. Like, I think that's like bare minimum for the really good quarterbacks in the league. Yeah, take care of the football and throw it to your team. Like, throw it to your team. That's the bare minimum. I thought Jarrett Stidham could manage that.
Yeah.
Instead, he made one of the dumbest plays in the history of Championship Sunday. That chest pass that ended up, they made the call wrong on the field. I don't know why they didn't let it play out. Should have been a touchdown, and the Patriots ultimately scoring a touchdown in that position was a ball don't lie moment. But I thought, because I picked the Broncos to win.
Yeah.
And I thought the reason I thought they could win is because I just don't think Nix's, skill set is all that special. I thought Stidham could duplicate it and not make the turnover. And I thought that the Broncos would force turnovers, and they didn't force one. Drake May was not good, but he took care of the ball. He didn't make the backbreaking. If anybody was going to cost New England the game, was their punter. They almost lost that game because their punter was terrible in the elements. But May didn't make the backbreaking mistake, and Jarrett Stidham did. And in a game like that, that was the difference. Andrew mentions the 4th and 1 early in the game where Denver went for it and didn't get it, and they kicked the field goal. They might have gone up 10-0. And I think I've come around on, like, I've done like a 360 on this, like, because at first I thought, yeah, that's I'm not sure that that was the best idea, that maybe you kick the field goal there. But at the same time, 10 wasn't a winning number. If they kick the field goal there, okay, you get 10 points. 10's not a winning number. But you can argue that being down 10-0 would have been a different hill to climb for the Patriots at that point than being down just 7-0. It gives them momentum, gives them confidence. So, I don't know. I see it both ways. I think that had they known that the weather was going to be so bad that the entire fourth quarter was going to be a punt fest, maybe they just would have taken the points.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, right?
So
it's just crazy, though, that the entire game would have been a snowstorm if one thing happened. If the Patriots did not lose to the Raiders in week 1.
Yeah.
They would have had home field. Isn't that crazy? One single thing would have given the Patriots the better record.
Yeah, they lost to the Raiders. Seahawks lost week 1 too, and they are in the Super Bowl. Early thoughts on the game. Like, what's the what's your early thought? Your Monday before the kickoff. What's kind of your read on this matchup? What jumps out to you about Patriots Seahawks?
I think you got the young guy, the guy that everybody wants to be the next guy, or some people want to be the next guy at quarterback, and you've got the guy that nobody cared for and the other team's quarterback, and now he's showing up at the time you need him to show up. And then you got one of the best defenses in the league, and then you got one of the best defensive-minded young head coaches.
I guess my thought is we still have no idea if the Patriots are good. Like,
Yeah.
like we got through the whole regular season. Like, are they good or are they just beating up on tomato cans? Then they get through the playoffs. It's like, okay, well, yeah, they beat all these elite defenses, but not with their offense playing great. Like, Drake May has not had a good game yet in the playoffs. And, well, their defense was incredible through the playoffs. Their defense is getting better. Milton Williams being back healthy. He's a game changer. Milton Williams against Anthony Bradford is the potential to be the matchup that, if the Patriots win, that's what we'll be talking about.
Yeah, or
Anthony
Christian
Bradford
Gonzalez getting an interception.
No, I don't think it's even that. I think it's Anthony Bradford. Anthony Bradford is the Seahawks starting right guard. He is the worst professional football player I've ever seen in my whole entire life. He is worse. I'd rather have Chu Godric line up at right guard than Anthony Bradford. He sucks so bad. And Milton Williams going to stand over him on first down, on second down, and eat his lunch.
Yeah.
And that's the matchup that concerns me the most. But, like, is the Patriots defense good, or did they just play against the terrible Charger offensive line and Justin Herbert in the playoff Herbert, and Stroud terrible behind also a bad offensive line and a backup quarterback in the snowstorm? So, like, how good is New England really?
Yeah.
I think that's why they made the line 4.5, because you hear some people in the game tell they don't think it's going to be particularly close, and their lips to God's ears. Let me tell you. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk. Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Yeah, this is to the CBS Sports broadcast. I know you were trying to make it better for us at home when you could not see anything during the snow, but man, you made the players look fake. You made them lose legs, lose arms with your little graphics of the field when you couldn't see anything. How about we never see that again? That's my final word.
Final word for me. The Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, man. What the hell? I can't believe it. I can't believe Sam Darnold outdueled Matthew Stafford in the NFC Championship game to send the Seattle Seahawks to Super Bowl 60. That's a real sentence. That happened. We all saw it. It's not something I invented. That's not something that is a simulation. Somebody ran it on Madden or something. That really happened. Sam Darnold outplayed Matthew Stafford. Some of y'all think he's a Hall of Famer. I'm a little less certain, but some of y'all think he is. And Sam Darnold outplayed him, and the Seahawks are going to the Super Bowl. And they're the favorites. They might win it. Somebody's got to win in a year where Jordan isn't in it, and it might be my favorite team. And that's pretty cool. And I would like to invite everybody to get on board with America's team, because I think we're still all tired of seeing the New England Patriots win anything. I know I was for all those years. Get on board with America's quarterback, Sam Darnold, and America's team, the Seattle Seahawks. You're all welcome aboard. You're all welcome aboard. High school basketball coming up. TIT championship game. Topeka West, Topeka High. 7 o'clock tip. I'll be on the call. We're back with you tomorrow from 3 until 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 5A Sports Talk. Good night.